So it's Thanksgiving weekend. Oh, by the way, Canadian Thanksgiving weekend to my non-Canadian friends. So that means it's early October, and it appears that Christmas has come early because it seems that most of what I'd ordered for the Ducati project, once I'd sold a bunch of parts off the KTM, has shown up this week. So yeah, the joke is I think I'll start getting, Christmas cards from the postman, or at least I know him on a first name basis anyway. I guess he used to ride a KTM dirt bike of some sort, so he gets it. But yeah, he made many visits this week. And so yeah, I've got a whole bunch of parts that I'm going to put on. I need to decide what I'm going to do first. But throughout today or the next couple of days, I'll put some clips together and string them all together, showing you what I've done or what I am doing. And it won't be like my last video, which was 31 minutes of me talking and then admonishing people to clean their bike. Which, yeah, if you get nothing out of the many videos I've posted, clean your bike. Anyway, we'll get started on that, and I think the first thing I'll try is my unique, cheap. It's all about trying to do things cheap when you're a club racer. Steering damper hack. So we could spend hundreds, plural, of dollars on a steering damper, but we're going to try not to. So what I've got is two things: an Arashi 848 steering damper mounting kit, which I watched a few YouTube videos in terms of how that's installed. That's the stuff here. And a adjustable steering damper here that, depending on where you buy it from on eBay, either costs over $100 Canadian or $26 Canadian if you buy it off eBay Australia. Anyway, they all come from China anyway. And one of the worries about these things is that if you buy a cheap one, there's always a bit of slop, for lack of a better term. It's nicely adjustable. Here, I'll try to show you how this works. So usually there's a bit of slop as the the cylinder, I'm assuming, isn't properly filled with oil or properly bled. So there's a little before the damping actually kicks in, but this one is bang on. There's no slop. It's properly purged and set up and damped, and as you can see, it's adjustable all the way up to 16, which basically locks it out. So if you want to use it as maybe an anti-theft device, you set the steering damper to 16 and you can't turn the handlebars. So we'll knock it back down to 2 or 1, and we'll go about mounting this thing. So normally this is purchased separate from this, and you can get these FXR or Arashi kits that come with a steering damper, but overall this looked to be better quality than what came with this. So this was $66 Canadian and like $6 shipping, and this was $26 Canadian and $4 shipping. Got here in a week from China. So we'll see if I can make this work. So that'll be the first thing I do today. So this is the first step in that this V-shaped clamp, you thread new screws or bolts into this section here, and they provide spacers here to set this piece just proud of that, to make sure that the gap here is correct. The Ducati bolts, are a unique design that set this up on top of the turn or the key cluster up here. So again, a little bit of Loctite there, and that's got this set. So the next step is attaching the damper to this piece here. You can see that it's threaded there, which again is a nice feature, rather than having to put a nut on the back side of that. And the other bonus thing here too, I was worried that, like, this piece is from the Arashi kit and this is a separate steering damper. I was worried that this wouldn't slide over the steering damper body. It's a nice snug fit, so this does fit. So then attaching this to the V-clamp and that to this clamp here that sits on the fork, and the job's done. So yeah, next step. All right, so I'm going to call this not a 100% success. Nearly there though. Yeah, the clamp that was supplied with this kit that says it's for a Ducati 848 does not fit this fork top. It's like 50 millimeters. This is a 53 millimeter fork stanchion. This is a really poor quality 52 and a half, I think, or 53 and a half clamp. So I'm not going to use this. So I will have to buy a 53 millimeter fork clamp to fit on this. But I quickly just fitted the tank to make sure that everything lines up as it should. And you can see that through the range of movement, nothing hits anything, which is good. So I really think this is a workable, inexpensive solution to the steering damper issue. So I'm going to say this works. Do you need to get a better clamp here though? But yeah, the steering damper works. So rather than spending $300-400 on a steering damper, I've got something here that looks to be workable and serviceable for around $100 Canadian, which is about $70 US. So if I think of it, I'll put the links to these two pieces here on the comment section or the underneath the video section. But keep in mind there's a bit of an issue with the fork clamp, so that needs to be sorted. They may have sent me the wrong one, or again, being China, they just sent whatever they had. So yeah, pretty happy with that. I'll get some Loctite on some things, maybe do some safety wiring, and first job is done. So next up is the air filters. So these are I think they're called MWR air filters, which are the recommended ones for these 1098s. And I already did the left side, which was the more difficult side, and so I thought I'd do that side off camera, just so I wouldn't breach any of YouTube's profanity laws, because it is a bit of a hassle to get that side off. And these bolts here aren't super easy either. So what I'll do is I'll take these out in preparation for putting the new air filter in, and it's fascinating sliding that air filter into place. But I also wanted to show you, I actually had to make a tool to put these screws in the other side, because the thickness or the seal around the intake of this air filters is much more robust than stock. The foam that you can see there actually seals around the lip here, which I've cleaned off again. But it on the other side, with the radiator hoses coming in there, it needs a super long 4 millimeter Allen, and I have like short T ones, but I needed longer ones. And so what I did is I had one, I cut the L off the end of it, and buried deep in the old socket set that you get for Christmas, are these crazy sizes that you wonder if you'll ever use. I'm not sure how well you can see that. That's 4 millimeters. And so what this allows me to do is I put that into some silicone, set it into the socket itself, and then I can put an extension on it. Not that we need to torque this down super high or to any stiff settings, but it just allows you a bit more room to get in there and finesse these screws in, because the seal, which of course is the benefit of this design, goes right around the lip, and this here needs to be compressed in order to maintain that seal. So yeah, MWR. That's how that works. So as you can tell too, I've got rubber gloves on, or latex gloves, which I rarely use, but this comes pre-oiled, which is really nice. And someone's hair. These are made in Holland. Maybe that's a Dutch girl's hair stuck to the inside of that filter. Anyway, I'll pull that off because of my OCD. and stick that in there and get the other side on. So again, you can find videos of guys actually going through this with a second or third cameraman in great detail. I have neither of those, nor a good camera, but yeah, that slides in there and seals that up well. So this is definitely the recommended air filter. And if you saw my last video, I told you that I did find dust on the inside of that air box, which, you know, drives me a bit crazy. So obviously it wasn't doing a very good job sealing. So that'll be the next step. So next up is a set of radiator and oil cooler guards. The radiator guard looks fairly straightforward in terms of how it's mounted. Same with the oil cooler. So these should be a pretty quick and easy install. And again, I do recall one of the first times I went out to the track a long time ago, and the guy's weekend was basically ruined because you know, stone had holed his radiator at the track. It can obviously happen on the street as well, but yeah, you don't want to have your day ruined because of stone being thrown up. So these radiator guards are fairly straightforward. R&G, I don't know if I've ever put an R&G one on before, like that model, but I think this is something where there's a difference between the ones made in the UK or by a Western shop versus ones in China. Again, normally these are quite expensive, but I put a cheeky bid on these. Normally, like, this would be, you know, $79, $89 US, and this would be another 50. I got both for $75 Canadian. So I think it was old stock that had been sitting, and the guy just wanted to get rid of it. So cheeky bid, and I got them for a good deal. So those will go on next. Well, all things considered, that was relatively painless. So the two RG guards are mounted. The radiator actually has to slide off in order to mount the guard, but it was fairly straightforward to do that. It's got a little, I'm not sure well you can see it, a rubber bumper that just slides on there, and that sits on the inside. So that's on, and the oil cooler guard is on. So yeah, easy peasy lemon squeezy. While I'm here, you'll see that the brake lines are on, and is there anything sweating? Shit. Looks like there's some brake fluid coming out of the top bleeder here. Anyway, I did mount the lines, and I bled them up. When I took a look at the pads, like after I cleaned that off and I took the pads out, they looked to be decent, but again, they were so covered in brake dust I wasn't sure what brand they were, so I actually cleaned them up. They're Brembo brake pads, and when I looked up the part number, they're actually they're called a track day or a fast road pad. So I put them back in simply because I think they're usable pads, at least for now, until I get some spare ones in. So I thought I'd bleed up the brakes and you know, have them ready to go. But as you can see, we got a bit of brake fluid coming out of there. So this bleed valve here might need to be snugged up a bit more. Although the concerning thing is that, like, that's a fine pitch thread in there. You over tighten it, and it's going to be a problem. So the problem with these Brembo calipers, they're not as nice as some of the other ones, is that the bleeder comes through the banjo bolt. It doesn't have a separate bleeder valve coming up anywhere else. So that's a bit of a, I don't know, another thing to consider. So I'll nip that up a bit tighter and see if that doesn't stop it from leaking. Next, I'll go to the back and work on the sprocket. So one of the joys of the internet is posting something, look for feedback, and see how people respond to the questions you ask or the suggestions you make or other people make or whatever. So gearing is a perfect example. There's that. There's the question, which tires are best? And my favorite question or comment or thread is, can I use automotive oil in my motorcycle engine? And the responses you get are again, funny to sit back and watch. So gearing, I just happened to mention on one of the forums, this is what I'm doing, and like, guys are telling me what my gearing should be, having never been to the track, They might have a slightly different motorcycle, like a 1098. You know, there's certainly some guidelines that I like to follow. I tend to want to run larger sprockets if possible, because then the chain is turning less of a tight corner when it comes to going around the front to the rear sprocket. So like a 13 tooth front sprocket, like that chain is making a pretty tight turn. On the other hand, though, the larger the sprocket, the more links in the chain, the heavier the weight, yada yada yada. And of course, we're dealing with infinitesimal or ounces of weight. But anyway, I'll be honest, I'm kind of cheap. This is a 37 tooth front sprocket. I've got a 15 on the front. Stock is 1539. I guess if I need to shorten up the gearing, I can put a 14 on the front, which is counterintuitive to what I just talked about, running larger sprockets. And if the sprocket sizes are too small, the chain might saw through the swing arm. Anyway, you know, I got an aluminum ergal, not just 6061 or 77.5, but a proper ergal sprocket for, again, shipped $100. You know, there's the quick change option, that sort of thing, but this is pounds lighter than the stock steel 525, so it's a 520. I've got a 520 chain that I think should work, so that's what we'll try out. So I'll put this on here, and we'll see if the chain is actually going to work for me. Stay tuned. So rear sprocket is on. I also nipped up that nut and added, I got these from Bellissimo Moto, I think. Same place I got the air filters from. A neat little clip here. I've got plenty of these just over the years, but this one actually has a little bit of a safety piece here that this won't loosen off and fall off here. I'm not sure how well you can see it, but that little tab helps. So anyway, with this sprocket combination, the blue chain that I have left over from some other project will actually work. It's a bit on the long side still, so I'm gonna grind off that pin, punch that out, and put in a new rivet master link that I have in my spares kit. So yeah, that again, relatively painless, which is nice. So as you can see, chain cut to length. This is a chain that I'd bought a number of years ago and used on another project, and you can see it never got off the stand before I took it off and repurposed it for something else. So it is quite snug here, which is, I will obviously loosen it off when I go to set the tension on the wheel in terms of the chain slack. But yeah, you can still see grease on it, so it's basically brand new, and I've got it cut to length there, getting ready to press on the outside plate, and then the rivet link. So yeah, again, I don't have another cameraman to watch me do it, but I'm sure there's 100 YouTube videos out there on how to press on chain links and then pop on the master link. But anyway, I really like these EK chains. There's EK, there's RK, there's Vortex, there's a million different chains out there, but these ones are decent. And again, colored ones, you tend to be able to find them cheaper because they either work for a bike or don't. A blue chain on a Ducati, not something you typically see, but who knows what color I'll paint the race plastic when it comes in. So yeah, I'll follow this beautiful little Japanese script as to how to apply this little bit of grease onto those O-rings, and yeah, use my Motion Pro tool and press it on. Fascinating. Safety wiring. 1/16 drill here. I did one on top here, but I also did one on the bottom. So I'll be wrapping it from here up to here to make sure that the bolts are always under tension. Okay, next up, rear sets. So someone off one of the Facebook forums recommended these rear sets for me. They look pretty nice and fancy. Not sure about the red anodizing, but these are from China. So there's always a bit of a risk when you buy parts from China, but these look really well made, and this guy highly recommended them. So yeah, I'll be giving them a try. And again, fraction of what a set of Woodcrafts or Sato or anything like that would be. The rule of thumb with these Chinese rear sets is that Loctite is your friend. I think mainly because I don't think that like the threads are cut sloppily. I remember reading something about cut threads and rolled threads or something like that. But anyway, I'll be putting these on to give these a try. I think right off the bat, I'm not sure about these foot pegs. They seem grippy enough, but they don't stick out very far. But I've got lots of leftover or spare foot pegs that I might put on these instead, just to make sure that I have enough grip. That was the one thing about the Duke 890, is even with the Power Parts rear sets, my feet were slipping quite a bit. So typical with Chinese things, no instructions whatsoever, but I think I can figure them out. So I'll be putting these on next. Whew, that was a bit of a battle, to be honest. Not so much these rear sets, but just some other things that that happened as I was doing more work. So anyway, rear sets are mounted. Again, they seem nice and solid. I used some good quality blue Loctite everywhere. I guess it all depends on what you plan to use the bike for, whether or not these are going to be suitable for you. So because I like my pegs up and back a bit, I ended up having to use some longer push rods when it comes to the actuation here. So anyway, this was pretty genius actually when you think about it, how they've got this little rocker here, so as you press down on the brake lever, it rotates in and compresses the master cylinder. So anyway, that works all right. Again, blue Loctite everywhere. This is an extra rod that I had. I think the stock one would work fine depending on how you've got your rear sets and your pegs oriented. I think if this was down and towards the front and you were okay with the brake lever being up a bit higher, you know, the stock rods are fine. But anyway, that was one that I had in the spares kit, a bit longer, and it works well, and I tried it out, sat on the bike, and yeah, that's where I like to have my pedals. This does stick out a bit, so as you're pressing on the lever, it does hit this rounded off piece. So maybe not the best design in the world. Perhaps this should be tucked up underneath here, and then a longer piece. But anyway, you know, I guess if nothing else, a lot of this is I guess a starting point for some more fine-tuning or some customization in terms of where exactly I might want to put the pegs, or to put a typical brake lever down here or something like that. But anyway, I don't use the rear brake much at all anyway, so don't have to worry about that. This bolt was okay. This one is one from my spares kit, wasn't quite long enough. I wanted it to sit just proud because it threads in from the front to the back. So that's taking care of that, and yeah, seems good and sturdy. As you can tell, I just basically stopped what I was doing and picked up the camera. I'll obviously tidy this all up later, but yeah, on this side again, because I like the pegs up high and the foot pedal down low, and GP shifting, again, I had to find a longer rod, and luckily I had one in the spares kit that you know, doesn't have too much threads showing at each end to make sure it's strong enough. A little thing that I had to do, you'll notice that this is a typical Allen bolt here, but this is a domed one here. Just if this fits down here, this rod fouls on the edge of it when you shift gears. So you can see that that doesn't foul there anymore. So that just had to be tucked in out of the way. Again, blue Loctite everywhere. Slightly longer bolt here, different spacer here. The one that they provided didn't quite seem to line things up the way I wanted it to. And likewise here, flipped around the shift rod, and tighten that up. Yeah, I have. So this is going to come off shortly anyway, because I'm going to do some preventative work on this side as well. There's a shift spring upgrade that Ducati did 2009, 2010. I think this is a 2008. Just some preventative work I want to do to make sure that the shift actualization rod doesn't fail. So I've got the kit coming in. Actually, because there's no Ducati dealer in Manitoba anymore, I went through Blackfoot in Calgary, so that should be on the way. Up towards the front, there's a famous saying, all that separates a 5-minute job from a 3-hour ordeal is a snapped bolt. So I did replace these brake levers. These are pattern ones, but they're the stock ones for more leverage. I prefer stock brake levers, and these Brembo ones are really nice. I'll keep the short ones as spares, just in case have a crash or it breaks or something like that. But that I'm happy with how that feels. This piece here threaded out nicely. It was all in good shape, and like literally a bit of a wipe, some silicone grease on the inside of that. 5 minutes, it's done. On the clutch side, which also, like, someone had put in that shorty clutch lever. This pin here, this bolt was seized absolutely solid. Like, I couldn't take it out. I tried different Allens. I tried 2 easy outs stripped. So I ended up taking this off and then drilling out the bolt from the back side. And then luckily I have a spare one of these. You can tell it's not a Brembo one. It's I think a Nissan one, but it's the same OD for the pivot point there, and then a lock nut on the end. So again, this was feeling pretty firm, I guess, for lack of a better term, or difficult to operate with the shorty lever, but with the long lever on there, leverage works a lot better, and it's certainly reduced the clutch pull, because someone did spend some coin before it came to me and put on a nice I think that's an STM, yeah, STM clutch master cylinder. So yeah, I'm glad that swapped over. But this took me, what should have taken me 5 minutes took me like an hour, which is crazy when that sort of things happens. But luckily I was able to get it out and had a spare and put it all back together. So yeah, a few more things. I'm gonna stop for today, actually. A few more things. I got some used GB racing covers from a guy in the UK. It's from a 1098, but I understand it also fits the 848 as well. So there's another cover you can put on here, which I might, but that's a nice plastic polyurethane or composite cover there. 2 more came with it for the other side, but again, I'm not going to bother putting these on until I've sorted out that shift spring issue. This is the water pump cover, and you can see it's been down the road, but again, it seems pretty complete. It hasn't ground through on the inside, so I'm gonna reuse that. Front sprocket guard. So again, once I've did the shift spring upgrade on the alternator cover, this will go on to protect the case if the chain ever splits or fails. It'll chew up the case, and this is a nice protector for that. There's another part of the shifter spring in there, decals, of course. And lastly, some more bodywork protection over here. A set of Woodcraft frame sliders. So these are pretty durable ones, as you can see, but the owner apparently modified these so that these pucks actually sit underneath the bodywork rather than going through the bodywork. So yeah, that's kind of a neat little thing to have in place, and protect the bike should it tip over, because again, my plan is, and I think I talked about this before, moving a updated or upgraded regulator rectifier onto onto this side here on the left hand side of the bike. So this is going to protect that should I happen to tip over. So yeah, that was a good chunk of time playing in the garage, mechanical therapy. Yeah, compared to my last video where I spent a half an hour talking, I did do actually a lot of work on the bike, which has a very productive feeling to it. So yeah, a few more parts to come in, but I'll keep doing updates as they arrive. And again, there's videos about that clutch shift spring upgrade on super bikes ST2, ST3, ST4, so you can see those if you want to. Hopefully the exhaust collector will have those holes patched when I took out the servo motor, and yeah, there she is. So I'll give her one more wipe down before I pick up all my tools and tidy up the garage, and done for the day. Like and subscribe, tell your friends.